Hello everybody, I'm Evan Kamikow and welcome to my first episode, the season 14 premiere of The Toss-Up. Each week, join myself and an expert line panel dissect the latest sports news from some of the nation's most elite college programs right here in Bloomington to the biggest stadiums and stages around the world. Stick around because we got a great show coming up on The Toss-Up. There's a lot of tennis going on down under. Yeah, that's my crappy attempt at an Australian accent, and it's now a toss-up first. That's right, today we're talking about the Australian Open. Will Novak Djokovic win a record 10th title? Who will take the women's crown this year? And which American will go the furthest? Well, we're going to break that all down and more on today's special episode. Now, welcome to the panel, Ryan Canfield and Lionel Smelyanskiy. And like I said, there's going to be a lot of toss-up first and a special guest from down in Alabama, tennis enthusiast Ashlee Woods. Everyone, welcome to the show. And Ashlee, it is such a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And Lionel, welcome back. Ryan, your first time. How are you excited?
Indeed, very excited to talk some tennis. Love the Australian Open. Nice excuse to stay up a little bit, so let's get going.
Exactly. Lionel, we'll start with you. Novak Djokovic is back in the draw this year after missing out last year. What does that mean to the Australian Open?
Well, love him or hate him, you can't argue with 9 Australian Open titles. He provides so much competition and makes the field and all around just much more competitive for all the players. So having him back, it's great for the environment.
Ryan?
Well, I think it just adds a little bit more historical aspect to it with Novak being, like, as I like to say, the last of the real ones. With Novak out, or excuse me, Nadal out and Roger gone, I just feel like it adds a lot more stakes to see if Novak can add to his legacy and add a 10th.
And not another member of the Big Three. Ashlee, what do you think?
Yeah, Novak missing last year, like he said, was a big loss, and it's honestly so great to have him back. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but the Australian public has just welcomed him back, and it was a great loss for tennis just to not have him around. And I think it's just honestly great to have him back. It's entertaining. He's in decent form, and so it just adds another level of competition because now everybody is chasing that guy that's had 9 titles, has never been beaten in a final. So it just adds that extra oomph to the tournament that it really didn't have last year.
And I'm going to stick with you with this one. Now, you don't like Djokovic. I'm not a Rafa fan. I have very bad childhood memory with him, but that's a story for another time. So with Rafa out, Djokovic is 4. Who's the favorite now on the top half of the draw?
Well, quite honestly, Djokovic was the favorite going into the tournament, regardless of where he fell in the draw. Now the favorite in the top half of the draw, I believe Novak and Rafa were on 2 opposite sides of the draw before Rafa lost last night. So that top favorite is honestly between Daniil Medvedev of Russia and Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece. Those are my 2 that are coming out of the top half. I think I'm leaning towards Daniil. Simply because he's been to the final and he knows how to get to the final. He's been to the final 2 years in a row, losing both times. So I think he knows what it takes to get to the final. Now for him, it's just winning the title.
And not only they're out, but also Carlos Alcaraz, is out too. Ryan, what about you?
I think Medvedev's the new top dog. And with even Djokovic back, I don't think he's the top dog, even though he does have a lot of titles. I just think Medvedev is just so unorthodox with that amazing wind-up on the forehand. It's just so amazing to see. And I'm not even a big Medvedev guy, but I think Medvedev really has the world at his fingertips right now.
Huh?
Yeah, and I stayed up late watching Nadal's match last night, and it was a really tough watch. He was hurt, and he couldn't move, and Nadal's known as that guy that can get to every ball no matter what. So seeing him walk around the court was tough. But I'm going to have to agree with them. I think Medvedev is my favorite from the top half. The critics have been harsh. They said his loss to Nadal in last year's finals has really set him back a lot. But I think this year, with Nadal out, his mentals will be better, and Medvedev takes the top half.
And we talked about Djokovic being in, but last year's defending champion in Ash Barty, she, is completely done, retired from the game of tennis. Nobody has that crown right now. It's Iga Swiatek right now, who is the current champion, has probably the brightest future of all of them. Can anybody dethrone them, Lionel?
Well, losing Barty is just a tough blow to the women's draw. I mean, she dominated everyone. Swiatek right now, she looks like the best women's player, but I think Jess Pegula and Maria Sakkari, they're right there. They can really give her a challenge.
Ashlee, what do you think?
Yeah, it's up to the field. Iga's separated herself from the pack, so the field kind of has to catch up. I think my favorites right now, Jessica Pegula, she's in really good form. I don't think she's dropped a set so far. She's just been clean, tight, neat tennis. That's kind of her game, just not really making too many errors, but she's being more aggressive, taking those chances when she needs to. I like her. I like Maria Sakkari, someone who has had some troubles getting into quarters, late semifinals, late in tournaments, but someone who has the power game to kind of compete with the likes of Iga Swiatek. And then also Coco. Coco's kind of a sleeper for me. It depends on what kind of day she has with her forehand. If it's a bad day for her, she's not going to really be able to challenge Iga, but she has a good forehand day and a good serve day. I think Coco is a sleeper for me as well to kind of challenge Iga at this tournament.
And I know we're going to talk about Americans in a second, but I'll throw out Madison Keys as a name. You talk about a lot of power. Keys is a really big forehand. We thought she was going to do it a couple of years ago in New York, fell short to Sloane Stephens. So I'm kind of hoping if somebody's going to challenge Iga and you look at the power, you can't forget Keys, Ryan.
Well, I looked at the draw, and the three Americans that are in Iga's way are, as you said, Keys, Coco, and Jess Pegula. And the answer to the question, can someone defeat Iga? Yes, but it could be a little hard. And if she is going to lose, she will lose before the final. I just don't think that the bottom half of the draw can really compete. I think Iga's in a good spot.
So we've talked a lot about American female. Let's talk about American males. This is a sport that, the Americans just have struggled with in the last 20 years. You haven't had a major winner since Andy Roddick, and before that, Andre Agassi. We'll start with you, Ashlee. Which American male will go the furthest?
Ooh, that's a tough one because there are a lot of them that can go far. Honestly, Mackenzie McDonald has surprised me. I had actually picked Brandon Nakashima to kind of come out of that first round matchup, but Mackie played absolutely well in his first two matches. So he has a little opening now defeating the hardest person he would face in the draw. So up to this point in the number one seed, Rafael Nadal. So I think Mackie has a little opening to go a little bit far. Francis Tiafoe, he hasn't lost a match this year. He's 7-0. He's in really good form. I think that U.S. Open run that he had, beating Nadal, making it to the quarters, has really inspired him. And I think that's really good for him. And I think his form is just really good right now. He's really comfortable. The forehand is working. I also don't think he's dropped a set at the tournament this week as well. And then, of course, Taylor Fritz. He's probably the most complete American to me at this point. He's the highest ranked, I believe. So all three of them can go really far. But I think I'm hedging my bets on Francis because I just think he's just in such good form right now. It's kind of hard to stop.
It's tough because, another American that you didn't mention, Sebastian Korda, a young guy, 21, 22 years old. I think this could be a tournament where he could take the next step. Will he? I like Fritz better going in the long run. Fritz hasn't really gone super deep in a major, so I'll take Fritz, Lionel.
I agree with you. It's between the best friends, Tiafoe and Fritz. We all loved Tiafoe's run in the U.S. Open last season, beating Nadal, but I think this is Fritz's year. He made it to the ATP Finals. Great season last year. I think Fritz is the American male that will go the furthest.
Ryan?
I absolutely agree. I would have taken Tiafoe, but I think his next match against Karen Khachanov is going to go Karen's way, so I will go with Taylor Fritz.
All right, last question before we go to a quick break and then make some predictions. Ryan, I'll start with you, then Lionel, then Ashlee. You'll bring us home. Who that's under 23 right now will go the furthest?
Well, I feel like everybody has forgotten about Leylah Fernandez. Her meteoric rise on the scene in 2021 in the Australian Open. I think she's got some magic left, and I think she could maybe take on the lower half of the bracket and match up with Iga in the final.
Lionel?
For me, it's going to be my favorite player, Felix Auger-Aliassime, 22-year-old from Canadian. Absolutely amazing player. I mean, he had probably the best stretch of all tennis players last season. He won 16 straight matches, and he took Medvedev to a fifth set in the semifinals last year at the Australian Open. I think he has the furthest run this year.
Ashlee, what about you? What do you got?
First off, I just love Lionel's pick. Leylah Fernandez is one of my favorite players on the WTA Tour. But I am also going to pick someone from Italy. I am going to pick Yannick Sinner. I actually picked him to win the entire tournament in a fantasy bracket that I did. So I have to support him all the way. I'm a big fan of him. He just looks really good right now. Hasn't dropped a set. I mean, was hitting winners off the forehand and the backhand side and just really powerful on his round stretch. I think he will also go the furthest. He's had a little tough draw, but I think he can go far.
So, Ashlee, I guess you kind of ruined it. So I'm going to change up your question for the B block when we get into predictions. But coming up after the break, we're going to make predictions. I know I've said it before. For the Australian Open 2023 champion men's and women's. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Evan Kamikow alongside Ryan Canfield, Lionel Smelyanskiy, and our friend from Alabama, Ashlee Woods. Let's get into it. Prediction time. Ashlee, we'll start with you. Who's going to be the men's finalists? And please don't say Sinner. Humor us. Anyone but Sinner.
Honestly, if I'm being completely unbiased, I'm thinking it's Novak Djokovic versus Daniil Medvedev. I think those two are the top dogs in the draw left now. That was Nadal out, and I think they know how to get to the Australian Open final. They've been there plenty of times. I just think those are the two that I'm having right now coming into the final.
And who would you have winning the whole thing?
Novak Djokovic.
All right, then we'll get your opinion on the women's draw in just a minute. Lionel, what about you?
I hate to go with the betting favorite, but Djokovic I think easily takes the bottom half of the bracket, and I think Tsitsipas takes the top half. And last time those two played in a final in Wimbledon, or I believe it was Roland Garros, Tsitsipas was up 2-0 in sets, and Djokovic won 3 straight. This time I think Tsitsipas might get his revenge. I think this might be Stefanos here.
So you're thinking Stefanos is going to win the whole thing. I'm going to go a name we haven't said yet, Casper Ruud, somebody that's quietly, had a really good year last year. And I'll take Tiafoe. I'll take an American male. I don't know if the bracket lines up that way, but for the sake of the show, it's going to, and because I said it's going to. So give me the two of them, and give me Tiafoe, the first American to win a major since Andy Roddick. Ryan.
I will take Medvedev, and I will take Djokovic, and I have Medvedev going all in. I think he's going to win it all.
All right, we looked in the men's draw. Let's look at the women's draw. Let's round us out. Lionel, who do you got and why?
Maria Sakkari. I think Maria Sakkari takes it. It would be a storybook ending to the Australian Open. The two Greeks, Tsitsipas and Sakkari. Sakkari, she had a big win over Naomi Osaka a couple years ago. She hasn't really gotten that next big win. She hasn't hit that next step. But she had a really tough battle yesterday against a young Russian. And I like to think that it's a lot better to win a competitive match instead of winning 6-0, 6-0, because you have that intensity that fuels you in the next match you play. I think Sakkari has what it takes to dethrone Iga this year.
Who does she beat?
It'd probably be Iga.
Yeah, I'm going to go Iga. I think she wins the whole thing, and I think she beats Coco. I think that would be a really exciting finals matchup. Ryan?
As much as my heart wants to go with the daughter of the owner of the Buffalo Bills, my Buffalo Bills, Jess Pegula, I would bet on Iga to win it all, and I think she will beat Sabalenka.
Good. Ashlee, bring us home. Who do you got and why for the women's open draw?
I think, great segue, because I was going to mention Aryna Sabalenka. I think she's in pretty decent form, and I actually have Sabalenka beating Iga Swiatek. I think the power that those two possess, I think if Sabalenka could really hone in her power and just be strategic in how she uses it, I think Sabalenka's power might be a little bit too much for Iga, so I think I'm going to take Sabalenka to win the women's title.
Oh, like that pick. Ashlee, thank you so much for joining us, and Ryan, Lionel, we're sure we will see you guys plenty this semester. That's going to do it for the show this week, a big show of a lot of firsts. Be sure to continue the discussion and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports. With that, there's one thing left to do. I don't have a tennis ball. I got to bring props this time, otherwise, Emma might kill me at one point. So toss it up, the imagined tennis ball. Find out if we'll catch it, and we'll see you next week.